and will run a very, very short-priced favourite. But they've rallied to Big Dermy. They've put money on Big Dermot, and what a hit. Big Dermot now a clear second favourite. Lycra will run about third favourite, but the rest of them, horses like the Guida and some of the other chances that you've been mentioning today, they will run at very, very generous odds, double figures or more. But if Canny Lad, the people's horse in this one, wins it, there will be a tremendous cheer. He's the best horse in the race according to the punters. Weight of money, for our friends from Hong Kong who aren't familiar with betting with bookmakers, has decided that Canny Lad is the favourite from Big Dermot, the second favourite, here in the famous Flemington betting ring on the rails. Good luck to you, Dan. This is a biggie.
Thanks, Bobby. Peter Crackers Keenan was down by the start. 2,500 metre start of the Derby. Crackers, I noticed Canny Lad sweating up behind his legs and sort of between his legs. I know he's got more perhaps to sweat up for because he's a colt, but he was sweating up a little bit. Did you notice that?
Yeah, but I wouldn't worry about that, Dan, because Wraparound sweated up a while ago, but this race brings back great memories for me because 4 years ago I had a runner in this race and great feeling. It came fifth. It just got beaten by Ravenel, but Canny Lad's top horse, lovely looking horse. He's out of a lunchtime mare. I know that's a bit of a problem staying wise. I like Big Dermot. I looked him as he did his prelim just a while ago. He's fit. Robert Spurton's got him looking a treat, and the way he won the last start, give him a chance. And besides, he's named after a close personal friend of mine, and that goes a lot for me.
Well, there's the football over there. Thanks, Crackers. Gabe Waterhouse.
Lord Revan ready.
Darren, you're not riding in the Derby, but what do you like?
I like the filly Lycra. I think she's a very hardy filly, and I think that she'll run out a strong 2,500.
In the Dalgety, the last, what about Kingston Rule?
Yes, well, I was very surprised and very pleased to pick up the ride on him for today and for the Melbourne Cup. And he's certainly got a good chance again today also.
He's by the great Secretariat, and they should think he'd be able to run the distance.
Well, he's bred in the purple, and he's probably the best horse bred in Australia. And I'm certainly glad to throw a leg over him.
Thank you, Darren Beedman.
Thanks, Kay.
Darren Beedman, Gabe Waterhouse. John Letts, you've ridden a Derby winner. Your final say?
Well, I did go for Canny Lad earlier, Dan, but I think he's sweating up a little bit, and the horse called What a Hit caught my eye when he walked out of the yard here, and the Bart Cummings polish on him, he looked magnificent. Canny Lad, What a Hit, I think they'll fight it out, but it'll be a great race.
Great Sabre going up, the second last horse to be positioned for the Victoria Derby, the Hong Kong Bank Victoria Derby, Group 1, 2,500 metres, $778,000 in prize money, including $3,000 in trophies. And the last horse to be brought up will be Grooming, one of 4 horses trained by Lee Friedman, Centro, Trisette, Special Guest and Grooming. Set for the Derby, bar 1. Grooming is about to go up. Jockey Darren Gauci. The Grooming set, the field's ready to go. The lights on for the Derby. Racing. Caught them in a fair line too. St Jude's going to be used up early. He was one of the best to jump away with direction. They're both going forward. St Jude's going to lead. Special Guest goes up on the outside to be third as they go past the winning post. A lap to go. In fourth placing early was Direco, followed by Great Sabre wide with Chime Zam. Over on the inside, Centro's going to get the box seat out of the straight. Look at Canny Lad and very wide out. Big Dermot must be 8 deep, and there's a lot of horses getting into trouble back in the field. What a Hit was one of them. Like we got a slight check, and then Trisette. Canny Lad's back to fourth last. Then the Guida, Grooming and Shot of Comfort at the rear. Well, Special Guests ran out in front by 4 lengths as they went to the 1850. Special Guest 4 or 5 lengths clear now. They're working up the second was Fire Oak from Big Dermot, third, St Jude fourth. They were followed by Direction and then Centro inside Chime Zam, Lord Reveneur. Followed by Abandoned War, Great Sabre Deep and Lycra behind those from What a Hit. And they were followed over on the inside next by Trisette. A length and a half to Recco, followed by Canny Lad and then the Guida, Grooming and last of all Shot of Comfort. They have about 1,400 metres to go in the Hong Kong Bank Victoria Derby. And Special Guest in front. Pilots the field by 2 lengths. Fire Oak second, a length and a half to St Jude, third inside Big Dermot. Here's Chime Zam going forward 3 deep, a length and a half further back. Over on the inside to Centro, then Direction, followed by Lord Reveneur. He's been able to get off the fence, Lycra inside him. One away, Great Sabre, followed by Abandoned War. What a Hit surging forward for Cassidy. They were followed Trisette midfield at the moment, a length and a half further back in the the field to Dorico. Then the Guida, Kenny Ladd's third last, a length and a half to Grooming. And last of all was Shot of Comfort, 15 lengths off the lead in the Derby. Inside 1,000 metres left to go. Special Guest in front. Challenging him is Fire Oak and Chimes Am around them 3 deep. A length and a half away St Jude, followed by Big Dermot. They were followed by Centro getting off the fence direction around him. Here's What a Hit around the outside. Lycra improving. They were followed by Lord Revenue around the outside. Great Saber. Kenny Ladd's got a lot of work to do. He's 12 lengths from them. Around the turn in the Derby. 500 to go and Fire Oak went to the front. Special Guest is gone. Followed by Chimes Am. Big Dermot running on. St Jude needing a run, and they were followed by Lycra. Here's Centro down the outside as they go to the 350. Fire Oak in front. Centro went up to claim him. Then St Jude. Chimes Am down the outside. Centro hit the front of the Derby. 300 metres to go at Centro in front. Fire Oak's kicking back the rail. Fire Oak and Centro. Centro's got his head in front. Fire Oak is kicking back on the inside. The 70 horse. He's a maiden. Fire Oak. What a way to break your maiden status. If he's done it, I think he has. Maybe Fire Oak. Centro dived at him on the line and up. Oh, the great finish in the Derby. 3 lengths away. Third may have been Lord Revenue or Lycra. They were fronted in by Tricette. Grooming behind those was Abandon War Direction. Big Dermot. Kenny Ladd never in it. The Guida, St Jude, well back to Recco. Shot of Comfort. What a hit. Great Saber. And towards the tail was Chimes Am with the early pacemaker. Special Guest. And to be honest, it is very tight. John Letts.
Very close, Danny, and I wouldn't like to have a go because, as you know, we're way back behind the line here, but it looks to me as if the inside horse has won Fire Oak, and what a great ride by B. Hibbert. I've seen him you have a look on the replay, Dan, when they get down here to about the 200-metre mark. Fire Oak, she seemed as if she switched her tail and resented the whip, so he put it away, rode her hands and hills, and then she's got the lead again. She was going to give it away, but good thinking on behalf of that jockey that rode the winner. And but Damien Oliver, what a year it would have capped off for him if he could have won the Derby. But this is the advantage of Barrier 1 in a big race, and he's had a lovely run. But you have a look at her here, Dan. When he hits her with the whip, she seems as if she turns half side on, and then he's put the whip away, and she was going to...
Fire Oak's won it, Johnny.
Fire Oak's won it. Yeah, look here, Dan. She's just... You'll have it. There he is. He's put the whip away on Fire Oak. Straightened her up, and she was nearly going to give the race away there, and he didn't hit her after that. He's shown her the whip, but he hasn't hit her.
You know, John, in that race, it's the Victoria Derby, the biggest 3-year-old race in the whole of the country, the best derby in the Southern Hemisphere.
And suppose
17 horses at one race, as one horse hadn't. He was a maiden, and that horse won it.
Yep.
Fire Oak.
And I think Bob made the comment before the race, he had a big bull fed, didn't he?
Yeah,
that
well,
horse? I said it's helped it there.
I wouldn't mind having it. 13, 3 and 6. About a 25 to 1 chance on the Victorian totalisation would be similar to that price across Australia. And the approximates in Victoria, $16.50 and $3.75. Centro, $3.25. Lord Revenue, $2.60. That's what racing's all about, to get a thriller like that. Damien Oliver, how close. Gee, I thought you had it 1-2 at the 300. He was going for the big double, of course. Centro won the Caulfield Guineas, but there's the close-up on Fire Oak and former New Zealand jockey Brian Hibbert. Peter Donegan's talking to the winning trainer in a moment. Certainly a trainer we haven't heard much about, but no doubt we're going to hear more of. Stylish Century come from up north, from Queensland originally, then Sydney to win the Derby last year. And then again, it's going up north.
Didn't look happy at all, Kenny Ladd, during the run, did he?
He seemed to get a little bit of interference out of the straight. I mentioned that, John. He settled all right, but even at the 1200...
He was a beaten horse at the 1200.
He was, wasn't he?
Yeah, and Jim Cassidy set the other horse alight. What a hit around the outside at the 800. He made ground to the home turn. I see he got a little bit of a brush from the inside horse when he was coming out 4 and 5 deep, but... I don't think Kenny Ladd can stay, and it looked to me as if What a Hit was just having trouble getting the journey too.
Cassidy took off early with him, but, well, as it's turned out, Fire Oak's won. We don't think of him as being real classy at the minute, but he'll go on. I've got no doubts. I've seen a couple of his runs. He ran St Jude to a hit in the Spring Champion, and he does lead in a lot of his races, quite similar, in fact, to that of Stylish Century. Fire Oak, the winner, coming back to scale, winning the Victoria Derby, Hong Kong Bank Victoria Derby. Prize money of $500,000 in prize money going to the winning connections. Peter, you're talking to the winning trainer.
Well, it's bedlam down here, as you can imagine, Dan, and we've got the trainer, Gordon York, with us now. And, well, his first win today. Not a bad race to win first up.
It's pretty hard to place a maiden nowadays.
Well, what about in the race? How was your confidence level?
Horse has done well. He's just done terrific since he's been. He likes a lot of ground. He's not a brilliant horse. He's a batter.
What inspired you to run him in the Victoria Derby? Was it the second in the Champion Stakes?
I already planned this race before we brought him over from New Zealand. You know, big statement, but I trained his half-brother and he had guts. He just had raw guts, same as this horse.
Yeah, well, he has got guts because Centro probably had him beaten 2 or 3 times up the straight.
He only thought that.
I'll go and lead him in and enjoy the moment.
Peter Donegan down there, and this is the angle you'd see if you're inside the race course. Now, Centro's clearly in front there, even on the angle, but watch Fire Oak fight back over on the inside. It was a classic finish to a classic race. Look at the desperation on both the jockeys' faces and in their arms as they whip their horses to the post. And look at Fire Oak fight back, and he's just put his head in front. It probably belies the angle now because they've gone past us, but there was only a whisker in it. It was a short half head that Fire Oak won the Victoria Derby for. We'll take a break and come back with the aftermath of the Hong Kong Bank Victoria Derby. That's the scene in the jockey's room, or the weighing in area after the Hong Kong Bank Victoria Derby. Rod Johnson, the secretary of the VRC, just chatting there to Pat Lawler. The placings on the Derby, I'll just swing around to my right. 13, 3 and 6 with number 18, Lycra, 4th. She'd have to be our favourite for the Oaks if she does back up on Thursday. And 15 was number 10, 13, 3 and 6. So it was very much an outsider's trifecta, because the actual trifecta itself here in Victoria paid nearly $10,000 for a $1 investment. That's the photo, and there's not much in that. That's definitely the shortest of short half heads, but look at that. That inch or so is the difference between $500,000 and about $90,000. Not much. That's what the great game is all about, thoroughbred racing. Fire Oak winning the Derby, defeating Centro, the narrowest of margins in one of the most famous races of all, the Victoria Derby. Horses are milling around after the jockeys have unsaddled their mounts in the Derby, and we're actually waiting on correct weight. Now, it's an unusual delay. I don't know why, because the race was run quite a few minutes ago, but Graham Kelly might be able to fix that up for us in just a moment. He'll be able to talk to the winning jockey, Brian Hibbert. In fact, Graham's ready now.
The connections of Centro, the second place getter in the Hong Kong Bank Victoria Derby, want to see the photo finish before correct weight is declared. So we're just waiting for the photo finish to come down, and they'll have a look, satisfy themselves most likely that the decision is correct, and then we'll have correct weight for the race.
Thanks for that, Graham. Quite interesting that, isn't it, in a race like this. But then again, I suppose you want to make sure if you're the owner. As I said, there's a difference between $500,000 and about $100,000, and that's the difference. Definitely Fire Oak, the winner, has won, despite actually Damien Oliver. You have a look at the two jockeys. Damien Oliver is actually sitting further up the horse's neck than Hibbert is on Fire Oak, so it can be quite deceptive, but the inside horse is definitely a lot bigger than Centro. And there was Richard Friedman, one of the co-trainers with Lee Friedman of Centro, just having a look at the print. Correct weight has now been semaphored. Correct weight is there on the Derby, 13, 3 and 6. So a bit of controversy there after the Hong Kong Bank Victoria Derby. And we'll now have a look at the tote dividends across Australia. Fire Oak, $14.15 and $3.55. Centro, $3.25. Lord Revenue, $2.55. Quinella, $143.85. Trifecta, $4,907.35 on 13, 3 and 6.
There's some of the ladies at Flemington and their chapeaux and their very colourful garb here on Derby Day, and you can bet on Melbourne Cup Day it'll be even more colourful. So the Derby's been run and won And what a win to Fire Oak over Centro. Both New Zealanders, both Kiwis. We know how tough they can be. And it was a great race. We're not finished yet, though. The Dalgety still to come. Kingston Rule they like. They like Frontier Boy as well. And Mantelpiece. And that's another great race. Let's check the totes with Dan.
The Dalgety, Tim. Kingston Rules at $2.90. Goliath at $15.30. Gee, he's over the odds. I know he ran poorly at Geelong, but he's a good horse. $2.60 Frontier Boy. $10.90 Native Neptune. $26 for Cosine. Spring Thor $4.70. Mantelpiece $1.45 is the favourite. He's a very exciting young racehorse. Mount Olympus $7. Batuta $15.50. La Tristia $7.20. Love You Perth $52. Pabulum $6.60. Samitis $36.95. Mantelpiece is trying to get into the Melbourne Cup. Peter Donegan has selected Frontier Boy horse. I'm also very keen on Graham Kelly going for Mantelpiece. As I said, he's unqualified to run in Tuesday's Melbourne Cup. If he wins today, he'll take his place in the field, and he's that well weighted, he could give it a shake. He wasn't specifically trained for it at the start of his preparation, Pete, but geez, going well, and I wonder what the doc likes in this.
Well, I think the doctor will have plenty of money, whatever he tips in the last, because you came up with the winner of the Derby. Well done.
Had nothing on it, Pete. Just shrapnel.
Well, it's paid $14 on the Victorian tote for 50 cents, and you've had nothing on it.
No, just 2 bob I had on it.
All right, well, what about the winner of the last?
Thanks for shelving me there, Pete. Look, I'm going to stick with Frontier Boy here. I know he seemed disappointing in the Geelong Cup, but he didn't have much luck. His run in the Herbert Power behind Just a Dancer was outstanding when he came from tailed off. Just a Dancer's run a very good race in the McKinnon. I think that form line's all right, and I'll stick with him, Frontier Boy. I see Mantelpiece is very short. He is an up-and-comer, but he's jumping 100 classes here, and I think at the price he's no value whatsoever. I thought one horse that may improve, Peter, at a bit of value is Mount Olympus. Back on his home track, had no luck in the Moonee Valley Cup, and he might be one to put his best foot forward today.
Well done, Docky. Mantelpiece, the tote favourite at the moment, but plenty of money for Frontier Boy on the tote.
There's a story to tell you. I'm not decisive, dear. Can I have another year to get my head to clear and find out where my heart is? That summer years ago, I never could say no. Well, nothing's changed, and so I end up where I started. I'm happy and content to lay my drunken head beside her. But I keep on having dreams that verge on the obscene, I guess. I confess, the blues go through my veins, but I ignore the pain. Say I love you again and end up where I started. I end up where I started. I end up where I started.
The Dalgety, of course, is the last event on Derby Day in what's been a fantastic day. And let's have a look at the totes. Final event for the afternoon. We'll have a look at, but first you saw how far they're actually going to run, and it's the same distance as the Derby. Kingston Rules at $2.90. Goliath $15.30. Frontier Boy $2.60. Down to Spring Thor at $4.70. Mantelpiece is very, very short, $1.45. Mount Olympus $7. Well, David Hayes making 6 winners for the day. La Tristia $7.20 and Pabulum $6.60. And there's quite a few horses trying to qualify for the Cup. And Bob, obviously a lot of people think the Mantelpiece will get into the Melbourne Cup by winning the Dalgety.
Yeah, they most certainly do, and it would surprise you, Dan, to believe that there are many people who are taking a surprisingly short quote about Mantelpiece for the Melbourne Cup, and he's not even in it yet. Talk about mugs. I wish I could find some of them. He may well win this race and qualify, but his odds will be just as good after he wins, if he wins, later on in the day for the Melbourne Cup when he's qualified with no risk.
Well, Peter won the Moonee Valley Cup very well last week. He's improved, I would say, looking at him. He's gone up 3 kilos in the weights, drawn out wide, but I'm sure he'll run a nice race.
Number 4, Frontier Boy, trained by Lee Friedman, who trained the winner of last year's Melbourne Cup Terrific. And Frontier Boy, well, its run in the Herbert Power Handicap was outstanding when it ran second behind Just a Dancer, and then was probably a little disappointing in the Geelong Cup, but only finished about 4 lengths from the winner. This horse won the St Leger over 2,800 metres as a 3-year-old. I think he'll get the distance today, and I reckon he might just get it on Tuesday too.
Number 8 is Spring Thor with Peter Shepherd in the saddle, an American bred mare. She's had 13 starts only for 3 wins and 6 placings. She's been placed at the last 3 starts, including a second in the Geelong Cup to Mr Brooker. Mr Brooker's third in the McKinnon Stakes earlier today makes that form look quite good.
Mantelpiece, number 9, is probably the state's most improved horse. He's officially described as a bay. He's almost black, and he's won his last 2 starts most impressively at Caulfield by a length and 3/4, and then he came out and beat Pressman's Choice again at Caulfield by 2 1/4 lengths. As I said, he needs to run first or second to get into the Cup field. He's on trial at this journey, but he's bred to stay.
Number 12, La Tristia with Stephen King in the saddle, is a very interesting runner. But we'll just go back to number 10, Mount Olympus, with Peter Hutchison aboard. Of course, another one from the Hayes stable. They've already had a great afternoon. Mount Olympus ran quite a good race, went 5th in the Moonee Valley Cup. I don't think he's quite up to the class of this race, but the way the Hayes stable is going, you never know.
Well, as you rightly pointed out, Graham, La Tristia, number 12, is an interesting runner. Stephen King in the saddle. I think it's Stephen's 21st birthday on Monday too, so it could be an early birthday present for him. Third in the Tats Cup behind Just Trish at Randwick at its last start over 2,400 metres, so shouldn't have any worries with the journey here.
Number 14 is Pabulum with Shane Dye in the saddle. As Bob Mormel said, there's some money for this horse. Only won 3 races from 29 starts, but he's always running on in his races. He ran on again quite well at Moonee Valley last week, went 8th. He looks quite well going to the post, and I think the biggest stretches of Flemington are going to suit Pabulum.
So there you have the field going to the stalls for the traditional lead-up race to the Foster's Melbourne Cup, the Dalgety, over 2,500 metres. Will we see the Melbourne Cup winner in this field? Dr. Turf, can you enlighten us on that?
I don't know, Pete. I tend to think he may have gone around in the McKinnon Stakes a little bit earlier on. But I did like the look here of Frontier Boy. I thought he looked terrific today. He looks a lot better today than he did at Geelong the other day, and he's going to be very hard to beat. Also looking good was the Bart Cummings mare, La Tristia, and I thought 14 Pabulum looked strong today too. I like Frontier Boy each way, Pete.
Yeah, just looking at Frontier Boy there, he's looking pretty good. That's what the experts think. We'll be back after this break for Dan Malecki to call it the Dalgety, the 8th and the last.
Welcome back to Flemington on this marvellous race day as the horses mill around behind the starting stalls for the Dalgety, a Group 2 2,500 metre race, $151,000 in prize money, and one of the favourites on the screen there, Frontier Boy, to be ridden by Jim Cassidy. Frontier Boy will be running in Tuesday's Melbourne Cup, one of 3 runners for trainer Lee Friedman, who won the race last year with Terrific. His other starters, of course, will be again Terrific with Savage Toss and also Frontier Boy. That's Cosign in the picture as the horses mill around behind the start. This being La Tristia and Kingston Rule. Pabulum a bit toey. Field stand, starter holding them. Now Sir Midas very toey, 5th from the outside. Settles, lights on. Racing in the Dalgety. Sir Midas reared slightly when they let them go. Kingston Rule didn't jump all that flash. The first out, La Tristia, Love You Perth wants to lead though, and Cosign goes up outside her. Going through to 4th was Pabulum, and they were followed by Spring Thor. Getting up on the inside was Goliath as they go out of the straight. Mount Olympus, and going up wide was Mantelpiece. Then Sir Midas and Batuta, Native Neptune, Kingston Rule, and last Frontier Boy. Out of the straight they go now, 2,000 metres to travel, and Love You Perth leads by a length and a half to Cosign and 3rd La Tristia. 1.5 to Pabulum, followed by Goliath, and going up around them was Mantelpiece and Sir Midas 3 deep. A length away Spring Thor, followed by Mount Olympus, about 2 lengths to Batuta and Native Neptune. 1.5 to Frontier Boy, and last of all was Kingston Rule. 1,800 metres to go on the Dalgety, and Love You Perth, the rank outsider, led by 3/4 of a length. Sir Midas goes up the sit second. A length and a half away third was Cosign. On the inside, 4th was La Tristia, about 2.5 to Pabulum and Goliath. 1.5 to Mount Olympus and Spring Thor, a length and a half to Mantelpiece, and then came Batuta outside Native Neptune. 2 lengths to Frontier Boy, and a length away La last of all, Kingston Rule. 1,400 metres left to travel. Sir Midas putting the pressure on Love You Perth, and the pace has been very good. They're out together, 2.5 lengths to La Tristia. A neck away, fourth, Cosine, 1.5 to Goliath, fifth on the inside of Pabulum. A length to Mount Olympus and Spring Thaw, 2 lengths to Native Neptune and Mantelpiece. A length and a half further back than a Batuta, followed by Frontier Boy, and Kingston Rule was last, about a dozen lengths off the lead. They go by the 1,000-metre point now. Sir Midas got to the front. Love You Perth is under pressure. Sir Midas led by a length. Third was Cosine, fourth La Tristia, 2 lengths to Pabulum and Goliath. Then Spring Thaw, followed by Mount Olympus, Mantelpiece. Behind them, Batuta. Frontier Boy still second last around Native Neptune, and 2 lengths away, Kingston Rule. They have about 800 metres to go. Sir Midas is just the leader from Love You Perth. A length away, La Tristia, followed by Cosine, Pabulum, Goliath getting off the fence. Spring Thaw running into it, and so too is Mantelpiece around the outside from Batuta. Kingston Rule's going to need luck, but he's going for a run in the centre, Beatman. And wide out was Frontier Boy as they straighten up in the Dalgety. They've got 400 metres to go. Love You Perth in front of Mount Olympus. Here's Kingston Rule down the outside, running on strongly from Spring Thaw, Pabulum. Mount Olympus went to the front. Kingston Rule trying to run it down. They've raced away then from Cosine, Goliath getting out. Mount Olympus in front with about 200 to go. He's a length clear. Kingston Rule trying to run him down. David Hayes going for his 6th win of the day. Mount Olympus in front. Kingston Rule trying hard, won't get him, and Mount Olympus wins the Dalgety. A half a length to Kingston Rule. 4 away, La Tristia and Goliath together. They were fronted in by Frontier Boy and Batuta, Pabulum, followed by Mantelpiece, well back Love You Perth and Cosine, then Spring Thaw, Native Neptune, and Sir Midas was tailed off last.
Well, Danny, we said it earlier in the day about Peter Hutchison being one of the most promising jockeys we've seen here, and he's just proved it again, hasn't he?
Amazing.
Amazing, yeah. Well, I seen this horse win the Murray Bridge Cup, and he broke the track record over there, Dan, but he rode him beautifully, that horse. He came off the fence exactly at the right time. It looked like the favourite, or one of the favourites, Kingston Rule, was going to get him about 200 metres from home. Peter Hutchison sat down and rode him out, but that makes it, I think, that's 6 for David Hayes here in Melbourne and 3 in Adelaide. So the Hayes machine's really firing. And here we have the head on, Dan. But he's a very strong rider, Peter Hutchison, and one of the most promising riders I've seen leave South Australia, well, ever since I've been riding. But there he is going to the line, Mount Olympus, and this horse travels very well for this lad.
He's improved out of sight, this horse, too, in the last 2 months. I saw him going around in the winter at Moonee Valley betting ordinary horses, so he's improved 10 lengths, I think.
Well, Dan, he's the sort of horse that he's run a track record at Murray Bridge on top of the ground, and he's proved that today he likes a hard track. And Peter seems to understand him very well. He positioned him beautifully. I watched him going out the straight. In fact, he was the only horse that I watched during the race, and he put him off the fence at the top of the straight just before they straightened up, went out 3 deep and 4 deep and just travelled up, and I thought to myself, when they straightened up, I thought, this is a horse to beat. When the other horse raced up alongside him, Kingston Rule, I thought, well, you know, the Bart Cummings polish is there, and but just the weight difference. One's had 56 kilos and the other horse has had 51, so 5 kilos has just made the difference over the last 200 metres.
Can he win the Melbourne Cup?
I don't think he can win the Melbourne Cup, really, because I don't think Peter Hutchison will be riding him. He'll be riding Water Boatman, and I think Peter's made the right selection there.
Certainly. He's got 48.5 kilos, so he drops 2.5 kilos after winning the Dalgety. It's not a bad weight.
Well, it's not a bad weight, but have a look at Peter Hutchison. He'd be the happiest guy in Melbourne, I'd say. He's just one of those guys that when he wins a race, Peter, he's just expresses himself so well. He's a very happy-go-lucky sort of guy. There's no airs and graces about him. He'll be the same guy that was here this morning. He'll be the same guy tomorrow, even though he's won 2 of the feature races today. And this is what makes a good jockey.
Well, a double to him, 4 winners to Michael Clark, 6 for David Hayes in Melbourne, 3 in Adelaide. What a day. I mean, of all days you dream of winning races, it'd be Derby Day, and to win 6 of the 8 in Melbourne is just phenomenal. It would have to be a record.
Would have never been done before, Dan, and I doubt whether it'll ever be done again.
Indeed. So David's now got 2 starters in the Melbourne Cup, Water Boatman and Mount Olympus. And Mount Olympus goes into it after winning the Dalgety, gave Waterhouses with David.
Well, when you're hot, David, aren't you?
Yeah, that's just incredible. It was a great ride by Peter, and the horse just, I don't know, they lifted today. It was one of those days.
But Peter won't be on it in the Cup, will he?
No, I think Peter wants to ride Water Boatman. And,
is that a tip?
I think it might be, actually. You know, yeah, I'm happy. You know, to see the horses race like this, and Water Boatman ran a great race in the Caulfield Cup, and he's very fit and hasn't had a problem, and I'm a little bit more confident now.
Thank you very much, David.
And why wouldn't you be? There was a nice comment, the last one. Who's that Colin bloke? But why wouldn't you be confident going to the Melbourne Cup after a day like this? 6 winners, a fantastic effort. Well done, David Hayes, Michael Clark, Peter Hutchison and the whole Hayes team. We'll take a break and come back with a wrap-up of racing on Derby Day. The winner of the Dalgety just being sashed there. There's Stephen King, who rode La Tristia. In a third placing, Darren Beedman, who will be riding Kingston Rule in the Melbourne Cup on Tuesday, jumps off the scales. Third place, Stephen King, who rode La Tristia. So Bart Cummings trained horses running second, third and last. Sir Midas pulled up a long way behind them. Goliath was in a bad run, finishing fourth. Trying to do a bit of trouble.